All right, we are live, and oddly enough, we have absolutely no errors showing up on the screen. So that means we should be live on Facebook, on my Facebook feed, the SK Hypnosis feed. We are working on the Hypnosis Hero podcast feed. Unfortunately, Facebook has a 60-day window before we can make any changes to streaming or anything like that. So I found that out when I was poking around the other day. So if you've seen this stream come up like multiple times over the last 48 hours, that was me experimenting, trying to get things to work. Now that we know what we're doing, we'll make it work as soon as we can. Also, brand new, we have brand spanky new, and that is, hang on here, my other window. Oh no, it disappeared. Okay, I'll bring it up later. If you go to YouTube, you will see on YouTube SK Hypnosis. You will also see on YouTube the new at Hypnosis Hero podcast YouTube channel. I was able to get all the YouTube videos that we had collected over the past years so that we have all of that in that one channel. At least as it exists right now. Most of those have been pulled from Jim's account. I will pull mine as soon as I can, just to make sure we actually have the actual copies of the videos. And yeah, it's been busy. And speaking of busy people, I am going to bring on my co-host, Emeritus. It almost sounds like Americanus.
No, we've been called worse. Just remember that the tariff and trade wars are between political leaders. We are still friends.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with it. No, that's exactly it. You know, it's.
I'm looking at Facebook and I don't see it. It keeps saying the video should go live soon. YouTube is up and running.
YouTube is up and running. Kate, check the SK Hypnosis site. Just make sure that's probably the one that is going to work. What I found also, speaking of technical glitches, is that when I actually do something that is on the SK feed, like on my own personal feed, it actually marks it as private. So I get a public one on the page and a private one on my personal feed, which is kind of weird. And then you have to duplicate it and turn it into something public. But maybe that duplication just isn't working properly, and is what it is. So
yeah, let me go to.
You can post the YouTube link on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go add a post
on there and at everyone. While you are doing that, office. I don't know why I closed that one down, but it wouldn't be the first time. It's kind of hard to introduce your special guest when the bio is on the screen that you closed.
Oof.
So.
Yeah, we're getting into the swing of things. Like,
yeah,
we had to go down and play in the minors for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a minute, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once we get used to AAA ball, then we'll come back and play in the pros.
Yep. Wait for this here to refresh. Okay, we're gonna use that one. So, and the winner is.
So okay, we're on Facebook. I don't know if we're on the. I'm going to try to do some. Oh, it may make me switch the thing on Facebook here, but I will.
See how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you roll with our guest, and then I'm going to still try to put some stuff on the Hypnosis Hero page.
Okay. Sounds good. yeah, you can grab the links actually right out of the chat there. So here is our new home.
Oh, wonderful.
And you know what? I think we should probably need to change that a little bit. Kind of hard to see. All right, I'll do that during one of the intermissions. But all of that said, our guest tonight is special because not only has she been on the Hypnosis Hero podcast before, she is a comedian, a true comedian. She's funny, she's talented, and she is the creator of the hilarity and hypnosis approach. And so I get this sneaking suspicion tonight is going to be funny. People are going to laugh, whether they like it or not. And she's found a way to infuse her 18 years as a stand-up comedian for swingers, nudists, and with her love for erotic hypnosis.
You have my attention.
I thought I might.
I was, yeah.
Do we still have TikTok?
And demonetized.
Yeah, anything's possible. All right. So without further ado, we are going to bring our guest on here. And, oh, come on now. New account, buttons are in a different place. There we go. All right. Without further ado, our guest tonight, Miss Traci Kanaan. And there she is.
Hey, how are you?
We're going to be doing a lot shortly.
All right. I love the sound effects. Awesome. Way to add some spice and stuff to the podcast. So thank you so much for having me on. Wow. I've been looking forward to this a very long.
Okay, we know Jim died.
I get it.
He would laugh at that.
I'm trying to think because it's probably been a couple of years since you were on the podcast itself. I know for those of us that attended PHS, the Performing Hypnosis Summit in January, you did do a talk online. You weren't able to make it in person, but so 18 years is a long time, and when you have that kind of experience behind you, I mean, you must have stories upon stories upon stories.
A few,
yeah. My TikTok followers are saying, okay, very interesting.
Yeah, because I'm kind of a niche within a niche within a niche. So, female hypnotist, big deal. But former internationally touring comedian that entertains swingers, nudists, and BDSM communities for the majority of those 18 years. That's kind of a niche within a niche within a niche. But obviously, Mama missed career day at high school and didn't pay attention in other classes like with math and science. And thankfully, I'm pretty fast on my feet and talk a good game. And, I have my parents didn't hit me when I thought out of the box. So this is what happens when you have an imagination that just kind of goes and goes. So,
Shawn, I'm doing friend or frenemy tonight.
All right.
So I live in a nudist community where I have 7 Airbnbs. My niche, in addition to hilarity and hypnosis, is working, doing erotic hypnotherapy for mostly swingers and nudists and occasionally some kinksters, the BDSM community. And where I live, I'm right between 2 very swinger-friendly nudist communities. So it's not uncommon for someone to come in, stay with me at one of my Airbnbs in a nudist community for the weekend, have a session with me. I pump them up full of confidence and tell them all the things to say to pick up women or men, and then follow up with them on Monday as they fly or drive home. So it's kind of an interesting niche to say. So.
Oh God! I don't know that my inner 14-year-old can.
And that's why we're.
That was a great
point, Brian.
Now would be an excellent time to shut your door.
Oh, do I possess the social skills to do this, like successfully or maturely, or other adjectives as well? We'll find out.
we'll find out if I start noticing some twitching on my TikTok here, then then I'll just say, oh, no more.
I got to give a shout out to Nora. I just saw hey pop up. She's my muse from another mother in another state. So
Nice.
Nora's pretty awesome.
Yep, Nora's been a viewer from pretty close to the beginning, and of course Becca from across the pond. Becca,
she's been our metric viewer from almost the beginning.
A metric viewer?
Yeah, she's from
the UK,
from England, so they're on the metric system.
The units that the rest of us use in the world.
Oh yeah, whatever. Math.
It's already for tomorrow for her. So
yeah.
Actually, the nudist community, we probably should switch to metric because it'll seem bigger.
Well played.
Oh my gosh, did I say that out? Was that my outside voice? I'm so sorry.
That's why we use metric up here.
Oh God, there's a 10mm socket joke in there somewhere. That's missing.
That's not good.
Pretty much.
And of course, Nora says, "Hey, like Brian, friend of me." So we'll get to that later. Yeah. So you mentioned that you missed career day at school. I kind of sometimes wish I would have, but then of course I'm just getting ready to wrap up an education career here. So, which
after this episode, it might be sooner than you think.
Could be.
Better not be, Brian. 2 years to pension out. But take us back to the beginning. So how did you wind up in hypnosis, starting out from being a comedian? Which turn did you take?
Yeah, that was a great time to worry about your TikTok account. Just
hold please.
Let you know. No, actually, so how this came about. Oh, wait a minute. What's he doing?
I'm not ready to have this conversation.
Okay. You know what? I'm glad you have protection.
Oh boy!
Gives a whole new meaning to the term bump helmet.
So I was doing comedy, and at this point, I had been doing comedy on swinger cruises. And basically, with the swinger cruise, a lot of people like, how do I get on a swinger cruise? What happens when a company comes in? They plunk down about 2-3 million, depending on the size of the ship, and that ship just goes away. And then you have to go through a preferred vendor in order to book that cruise. What they were finding is that the entertainers on that ship really didn't know the culture. And so they would bring someone like me in who studied the culture and wrote jokes specifically for them so I could entertain for them. So I'm on the cruise, and what they don't realize is that where the library is on the cruise ship? All right, the library goes away, and they turn that into what's known as a playroom. And we're not talking board games, different kind of games there. But anyhow, while I was walking through there, I heard a lady having a really good time, like a really, 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 really good time, like over and over, like a really good time.
Like audibly would have sounded or potentially mistaken for a religious experience. Correct.
And honestly, people say, "Oh God," on those ships way more than any other cruise. Anyway,
wait. So current times. Oh, insert deity here.
Sure.
Of your choice, though.
Of course. But anyhow, I heard this lady having a good time, and I'm like, how do I get that? And one of my friends says, "Oh, have you tried hypnosis?" And I was like, "No." So she goes, "Well, you need to meet my friend." And so I did a session with her friend, and it was okay, not quite what I expected, but I had to learn more about it. And then I ended up taking a class from their instructor, and I just started learning more and more about it. And then through that, I just wanted to learn everything I could. So I learned how to do stage hypnosis. And then eventually that led me to hypnotherapy. So for a while, I was doing my comedy show. I would do the comedy show Friday night, and then I would do a very dirty hypnosis show Saturday night. And then I would go home. So they only needed one entertainer for the weekend. Comedy show would bring him in, the stage hypnosis show. People would embarrass themselves, and then, we all go home on Sunday. So it worked out well. And so I did that for a long time. And one of the highlights of that was explaining to my Christian bookkeeper why I needed an inflatable sheep. But it is Florida, and that's how we roll in those shows. Anyway, sorry, I digress. It was just a memory.
Oh God! Sorry. I see us. It's almost 6 o'clock my time. I can see me going like, "Oh Jesus, it's almost 10 o'clock." But please continue.
So, so anyhow, so I did both shows for a while, and even did some of the shows on the swinger cruises. And on a swinger cruise or in a nudist community, if people aren't naked in a hypnosis show in like 10 minutes, it's a bad show. So I was able to do all right. I didn't have to worry about anything.
Does the entertainer get to remain clothed?
If you choose to, sure.
Okay.
I mean, I will not confirm or deny how I've dressed in many of those shows. Perhaps it was just a corset. Anyway.
Oh, like if we could only post Skeletor memes on here.
Yeah. So, that's how I got into hypnosis, is that I wanted it for myself. And then absolutely just loved it, fell in love with it. Maybe the next year, I ended up becoming separated from my husband. And then a week later, I became the primary caregiver of for my mother, because she ended up very sick. And the next couple of years, I ended up being her full-time caregiver, and went to hypnotherapy school in the meantime, because I couldn't really go on the road. Every time I went on the road, she was in a nursing home, and I put my schedule on the wall, and every time I had a gig, she would get sick. So she kind of knew the dates, but kind of didn't. And so it was messing with my schedule. But whenever I had to take care of parents like that, I just doubled down and learned a skill. Another time she was sick, I stuck around and learned improv for a year. So just kind of how I rolled. And ended up just loving hypnotherapy. And then when COVID happened, I lost all my gigs. And it was like, all right, the road was beating me up. I was having a rough time health-wise, and I didn't understand what was going on with my health at the time, but it was just difficult. And so hypnosis became it. And then I went full-time into hypnotherapy. But during COVID, I had this girl who was having a bad way to go. Her boyfriend told her horrible things, and she retained the audio memories of the things that he said. And I had just bought these rubber chickens from Big Lots. And I said, here, I'm going to repeat these things that your boyfriend said to you. Every time you get triggered, I want you to squeeze the chicken. And so he would say stuff like, I wish I never effed you. And she would squeeze the chicken and then she just started laughing like crazy. And I went, oh my gosh, I found a way to combine hypnosis and humor. And so I started finding other ways to break bad trances with laughter, to create lasting changes. And that's kind of how it all started, with the hilarity and hypnosis approach.
Oh, that's like a happy little accident. You were like, oh, let's see if this works.
Yeah. And so Becca asked, I'm assuming this is my question, how many years have I been doing this for? So I did comedy for 18, and I've been doing hypnosis now for 10.
And then
how long with the chickens?
The chickens has been a lifelong obsession. Anything funny has been a lifelong obsession. My dad was always funny. I wanted to be funny like my dad. And so I've just been studying humor and comedy, or I've been wanting to be funny my whole life. But it was, I did my first stand-up 5 minutes, September of 2002.
Well, and kind of on that note, I met you not at the most recent one, but PHS last year, 2024, and it was like, that was one of like my first impressions of you, because I had no, other than Jim, Sean, Grant, I really didn't know anybody. And it was like, we jumped in a couple of Uber rides and we were going all different places, and that was like one of the things I'm like, she's just hilarious. Like, she's got my like
I'm not
like
well.
a 13-year-old sense of humor, and it was just like, okay, like, she's pretty awesome. And
Thank you.
so
No, I'm just a different soul. I don't know how else to explain it. I just do what I do, and no apologies, and I live my life. There was a time, when you start doing comedy, they're like, you got to work clean, you got to work clean. You can work more places if you're clean. But there was just, I grew up around adults. I never had children. I was an only child. I was never around children other than school. Um, and so I didn't feel like working clean was being true to myself, even though it might have paid better. But doing what I did, oh my gosh, I got voted top female entertainer of the year 2015, 16, 17, and 18. Not that this is huge on anybody's resume, but I did get to meet Nina Hartley and Ron Jeremy before he went into jail. And
yeah.
Nina Hartley is lovely. I got to, as a result,
remind me who she is.
Nina
I'm like having
Hartley,
trouble putting a face with a name.
a beautiful blonde. She did a lot of porn in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, definitely 80s and 90s. And she did a lot of educational videos, and she's been a porn advocate for many, many years. So she got to see my show and wrote a nice quote about it. And then literally, it started with, I just got hired to perform at a clothing optional resort up the street for comedy, which is how I got into the swinger thing. And they loved my show. And in comedy, if you come back to a comedy club twice a year, you're killing it. This clothing optional resort had me back like 5 times in 1 year, every 8 weeks. I'm like, I can't write material that fast. They're like, we don't care. We just love you. And I was like, okay, I found my people.
I mean, how many times has Ron White said the joke, I believe I'll have a scotch.
Yeah.
And it kills everywhere.
Yeah.
And
it's just where it goes. So I started writing material for the swingers. And then word got out that, hey, there's a comedian here that gets us. And so I started getting invitations. Hey, it's August. It's International Swingers Day. How about we fly you to the Dominican Republic and do a show? Okay.
yeah.
And then the next year, hey, it's International Swingers Day. We're doing a big swinger convention in Las Vegas. How about we fly you to Las Vegas and you do a show?
For how many zeros?
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, we're doing a swinger cruise. We're doing another swinger cruise. I ended up doing like 20 cruises in 5 years. And it got to a point where, like, where's it going? I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm on a ship with the happiest people in the entire world. I don't care if we go off 3 miles and drop anchor for a week.
And the times you're not performing, you're like, shut up, liver, you're fine. Take it.
The times that I wasn't performing, I was actually talking with other swingers on the cruise, learning what worked in their swinging relationships. And all that knowledge now helps me with other couples who need hypnosis for self-esteem, for performance issues.
So it's like a market research in a way.
Right. So it was just this bizarre series of happy accidents that all just kind of coalesce. Very happy accidents in some cases.
It's in my eye. No, I mean, it's oh man, it's really cool because you're able to, I mean, that's a part of the, I guess, of the community that is often very misunderstood. A lot of myths. You've got like, 50 Shades of Grey. There's that internet meme that's like, 50 Shades of Grey. It's okay if it's a million, multi-billionaire with, nice cars and he's in shape and everything, but turn that around to somebody with a mullet and a trailer park, it's domestic violence and multiple felonies. But, there's there's a lot of, responsibility of being safe, and, people who are, trading partners and stuff like that. It brings on a completely different dynamic and whatnot, that, it's that like razor thin edge of going, this is really cool, or this is a ticking time bomb or a powder keg about to go off.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. At one point I was teaching newbie swinging seminars at some of the events that I went to, and I would always have the 5 magic questions, one of which was, what do you love best about the lifestyle? And I asked this of this one couple, and he says, well, and he went off, and his wife got up and walked out. And I was like, oh, that's telling.
That's like, that makes one of you.
That makes one of you very much into the lifestyle. So part of what I did was teach people how to read, ask these 5 questions, and how to read the responses. What do you like about the lifestyle? How long have you been in the lifestyle? What are you looking for in the lifestyle? And at any point, if you get a question that doesn't jive, walk away. Walk away. Do not open yourself up for a bad time just because you feel like you have to have a time.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's also, before you just like go cut bait and run, it's like, is there a time to seek clarification or proper context? Because, communication in any aspect of life is only effective if it's clear.
Right. And if you don't feel like in the swinging world now, if you don't feel 100% comfortable with somebody, you should not be with that person until you are. If that time comes, there's times you just need to do your homework, and that varies for different people. Like there's some people that can just jump in the sack and never ever give it a thought, and God bless them. I couldn't do that. That was not me. I need to know some things.
Right.
But that's just the beauty of the lifestyle. And, so there's this pie wedge of humanity, and the pie wedge gets continuously smaller when you start to niche down. So it's a numbers game at this point. And that's what I teach when I do lifestyle coaching for couples who are new, they're trying it out, seeing if it's for them. I said, you have to be very, very patient, especially the first time. I didn't know better. And we ended up at a resort, and I spent much of my time saving the marriage because we didn't do any of our homework. We didn't do any of the research. And it was a very scary situation. And so, anyhow.
Well, I mean, I could only imagine like my experience in the family law industry and a lot of my friends that are in law enforcement. If you listen to some of the stories that I've told or that I've heard from friends of mine, you tell that to like the common lay person, they're just like, good God. And I'm like, yeah, there's not a whole lot that really surprises me anymore. And it's like, what do you mean people like to hang from fish hooks and set each other on fire? And it's like,
yeah, but those are the extreme cases. And a lot of people, they see that. They see the extreme hardcore BDSM, and most people never start there. They build up to it. There's like an initial sensitizing event. Some of you hypnotists might recognize that term. And that's what kicks it off. And then they're chasing the next high. And so it builds from there. Typically, nobody starts with the extremes. They build up to it over time. And I think people forget that.
Now, I think it's important to say, I'm drawing a parallel. So when I say it's just like my first time with Jim, it was when he allowed me to do a guest spot at Laps Comedy Club for one of his shows. And, I come off the stage and he kind of wraps things up. And I'm like, I'm just super jazzed. 10 minutes felt like about 20 seconds. And there were so many different things going through, where's the microphone cord go, and don't fall off the stage, and manage everybody who's up there. And I can't see the crowd because the lights are super bright, all these different things. And I'm like, I want to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was clothed. We all, everything was above board. But yeah, but I can understand where people go and get that little bit of a taste, and they're like, this is different, this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's some sort of stimulation, internally and externally, and just like any entertainer.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is really fun, what's the next thing I can do?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so anyway, so that's some of my background, how I ended up being the world's weirdest hypnotist.
So there's got to be like a blooper reel or something of just like, without naming names, like funny anecdotes of things that have happened on stage, or
some of my best stories. I got to a point in my career where I was middling as a comedian, and it was like I needed a headliner to take me along, but the problem is I was a novelty act. I sang piano, I wrote parodies, I sang, played piano, so there was a lot to my show. So I needed a really solid headliner to take me on. But in the Florida area, there wasn't one that was willing to do that. And I did this comedy competition, 3 minutes. It was the Carnival Comedy Competition years ago. And there was a comedian there that I didn't recognize. And he sat back and he watched my show. And then I said, "Who is that comic?" And they go, "He's the disgruntled clown." And I went, "Who?" "The disgruntled clown." And they said, "And by the way, he hates female comics. So if you ever find yourself opening up for him, fake your own death. Don't work for him because he hates female comics." And I filed it away. Now I meet the guy.
This isn't like a bit or a stigma or anything that he does for marketing.
Well, he dresses up. Think of the rock band Kiss, and a clown had a baby, and that's him. He was actually in costume. He was about 7 feet tall, between the hat and the platform shoes. Grown man in a clown costume.
Like, I guess what I was asking, like, I know that Anthony Jeselnik has a dark sense of humor. I don't think that he's like a closet serial killer or anything like that.
No, but this guy dressed up as a clown, and hated women. So anyhow, he comes up to me after I do my 3 minutes, and he's like, "Hey, I think you're pretty funny." And I can't, because of someone's TikTok account, I can't say what he really said. But basically, he liked my show because I didn't talk about my feminine parts all night long. And he goes, "You want some work?" I said, "Sure." So I gave him my number, and I didn't hear anything. And I'm doing a show in Cocoa Beach, and he shows up. And I looked at his schedule. He was in Michigan the night before. He drove all night, and I couldn't imagine why. And when he got there, he goes, "Yeah, I'm watching the other chick. I was performing with April Macy that night, who was the Howard Stern's hottest comic." And I don't know if she had been voted that yet, but she was about to be. And I did a good show. And he talked to me afterwards, and he goes, "You know what? You're really good." He says, "But you need some work. I'm going to work with you." And so all my crazy stories come with him. And I found out why he was in Cocoa Beach that night, because
you're like, there is no part of consent yet that has been established.
Well, I said, why? He wouldn't tell me why he was in Cocoa Beach, but I figured it out through a story that he told on stage. He had given another comedian a ride. That comedian had a bag of cocaine and put it underneath the passenger seat. When he dropped off the other comic forgot the cocaine. He went out to Taco Bell at 2 a.m. after his show, dressed up as the clown, so black diamonds, white face.
Oh, God.
They thought they were being robbed. They called the police. The police had a canine dog who found the coke, and he was on probation, and he had a court hearing for the cocaine possession in Cocoa Beach. And so he drove all night, did his court date, and saw that I was performing and watched my show. So that's how that came about. But I have all kinds of crazy stories with him. We were doing a show in Georgia, and he goes, I want to stop by and see my cousin. I said, oh, okay. So backstory, my parents owned a printing company. Mm-hmm. And to measure colors, inks, you have the little printer scale. So you put, so much red, so much blue, and you get purple. But it's a very distinctive scale. So anyhow, we go to his cousin's place, and he had that scale on his table. And I go, oh my gosh, you didn't tell me that your cousin was a printer. And then I looked around at all the white bags of powder, and I went, he's not a printer.
You're like, ruh-roh.
I'm going to go outside.
Yeah.
Just in case the SWAT team shows up. But anyhow, again, I had no clue. I just never had friends like that did that sort of thing.
I didn't know that your family name was Escobar.
Yeah. So that was one crazy story. And then another time I took a gig with him in Texas. They called it the Valley Tour. So we started in like Laredo, McAllen, Harlingen, and
this is like strike 2 of Traci has not yet learned.
Yeah, this is all like Traci. I just never had friends that did drugs. Just at this time I've been married like 14 years, and anyhow, so
honey, I'm going to go get in a car and go travel across a couple states away with a dude who dresses up as a clown and hates women. See you in a week.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how that conversation with my husband went. I felt like it was being sold into comedy slavery. Anyway, so we do this Valley tour. The guy says, hey, let's go to Mexico. It's just over. So we go. The guy who books us is black. The clown looks kind of like a Hell's Angel when he's not dressed up as the clown. And then there's me, little Miss Mary Sunshine. And we do our shopping. We come back in, and immigration stops us. And all of a sudden, the booker and the clown are fighting over each other. They've been trying to be alpha dog all week. And the clown hands immigration his business card. Say, hey, I'm the world famous comedian, the disgruntled clown. You should see my show. I've been on scene in this, and I'm the top underground comic. And immigration's just watching the whole thing. And finally, the booker goes, come on, man, nobody here's got a criminal record. And all of a sudden, the clown grabs his arm and starts mouthing, shut your effing mouth. And all of a sudden, immigration says, pull over. And we're like, oh, crap. So they take our passports. And I know my passport's clean, but we're sitting there like a half hour. And all of a sudden, about 20 minutes into it, the clown goes, oh, man, I owe back child support in Oklahoma, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, and I have 7 days left of probation for cocaine possession in Florida. And I'm like, we're done. We're done. Oh. But then there's that sick part of me that's like, if they arrest him, I headline that night. And so I was like, maybe.
Come on, anyhow, baby Jesus.
Anyhow, they come back and they have their hands on their guns. Uh-huh. And they go to where the clown was sitting, and the clown goes, oh, man, here we go. And he just gets out of the car and puts his hands against the window. And they go, shift changes in 20 minutes. Nobody wants to write a report for a guy who's off probation in 7 days. Get out. And they hand us our passports and let us go.
So is that you guys got into Mexico, or you're coming back to the U.S.?
Coming back to the U.S.
Okay, yeah.
So that was my close call with my first time with immigration was a close call. But yeah, these were just some of the wild stories. Another time, I have so many comedy stories with him. We're in Macon, Georgia, and we had to do a meet and greet after the show. And then he goes, "Come on, we're going." I'm like, "Where are we going?" He goes, "We're going to a biker bar." And at the time, I was the Princess of Parodies, so I'm in a princess costume, which is basically it's an Elvira dress with a special made tiara, and he's dressed,
Right.
as a 7-foot clown. So we go to this biker bar, and he walks in. He's a road dog. He's been coming to this place for years. And she goes, "How you doing, hun?" And he goes, "You know what I want." She goes, "I'll be right back." And she comes out with this big bowl, just heaping. And I go, "What is that?" He's like, "It's potato salad. It's the best I've ever had. And I can tell if it's a day old." I'm like, "You brought me here at 1 a.m. for potato salad. Awesome." So I'm watching
And
him
you
eat
have
the
how
potato
many
salad.
illegitimate children again?
Crazy. So he's eating the potato salad and he just leans over to me and he goes, "Who's the most dangerous person in this room?" I'm like, "It's got to be you." He goes, "Nope." He says, "You see that guy on the other side of you with the vest that says outlaw and prospect on it?" I went, "Uh-huh." He goes, "That's the one. He's looking to make a mark to get in the gang." I went, "Then why aren't you sitting next to him?" He goes, "He ain't going to hurt a big titty girl like you." I was like, "Glad I'm your
Do you know what he'll do to a clown like me though?
So just pockets of weird stories that came about. So, but yeah, another time we got our picture taken with the Easter Bunny in Niles, Ohio, and we had to be escorted through the mall by security. I'm like, what happens in this mall that we need to be escorted by security? But
Like you guys were in costume or
yeah, we were in our
oh, okay, okay.
comedy. Yeah, because we dressed because his whole thing was you got to look like you're part of the show. He
Uh-huh.
says where comics and entertainers go wrong, they look like everybody else, so you don't know, who the entertainer is. So you have to dress up and stand apart. So whenever we went out in public, we were always in costume and generating business for the show.
Oh wow. Yeah, I would have
So
been like, but I don't want to go get gas dressed as a Harley Quinn. Like
it,
I'm just
it was
hungry. I want to go
crazy.
get something to eat.
We were in Toledo, Ohio, and we stopped at Tony Paco's and in costume, and we're like, "Hey, we're the comedians at Comedy Connection, whatever the club was at the time. I think it's closed now. Hey, we're the comedians. We want to sign your buns." And they had to sign the buns. So somewhere I probably have a bun at Tony Paco's. It's probably
Mhm.
behind the restroom in the men's room or something, underneath the urinal. But anyway, I got to sign the buns at Tony
Oh man.
Paco's. So just weird. Uh, got to open for Gallagher.
I saw him in at the Puyallup Fair, just outside of Tacoma, Washington,
Hmm.
early 2000s. I think it was right when I got up here, and it was hilarious. He was one of my favorite comedians as a kid growing up. Super tragic how things went south, and like his own brother, you know, got all that legal drama and fraud
Yeah.
and whatnot. But how is he as like a person? Is he just absolutely a character? Like there is no difference.
He's out there. So they
Lots of
they were
drugs.
doing a show in St. Petersburg and they didn't want to bring in the third comic. And so but he wanted to meet me before and he knew I did parodies and he was doing a lot with parodies. Well, he called them parodies.
Mhm.
And so he sent me this is about the time when Megan Trainor's I'm all about the bass, about the
Yeah,
bass.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
So he wrote this piece starting with it's all about the face, Megan, it's all about the face, and then it went off into this crazy spoken word diatribe and he goes, "Do you think you can do music with this?" I'm like, "No." no, there's just not enough notes in the universe to cover all this. There's no
Right.
way it's a spoken word. And so, but we met.
The guy who does all the fine print voice at the end of commercials couldn't speak that fast.
It was really insane. So anyhow, I met Gallagher. It was some kind of steak, Quaker steak, some meet and greet event there. And he is in this old blown out Ford van that had probably 300,000 miles on it. And he goes, "Come on, sit inside the van with me." And I'm like going, "Oh, geez, please don't be an extra credit van." Anyway, so I sit down and he goes, "Wait, get up."
You sit in there and you're like, smells like other people's DNA.
Oh yeah. If there was ever a reason why you should probably stop smoking dope past the age of 60, he was the poster child. Anyway, he tells me, get up. And he pulls out this flat Nutrigrain bar that I don't think I flattened it because it was in the seat. And he goes,
wedged in there.
Yeah, but it was an apple Nutrigrain bar. And he goes, "Are you hungry?" And I'm like, "No, thanks, I'm good." And he goes, "Oh, all right. Okay, now you can sit down." It was just the wildest conversation. Truly just a genius. Just
his creativity was just out of this world.
Way out there. Trying to get him to ground was something, but that was
I remember one of his shows. He was like, "Do you know how hard it is to get a loan for a gigantic behind the couch monster, or a couch sized trampoline?"
But the show, they had to cover the whole place in plastic. So even like my keyboard was covered in plastic. The first 4 front rows had plastic, like the splash zone at SeaWorld. It was crazy.
And people would show up with like garbage bags cut out that they'd put on like a smock and rain gear and everything like that.
So it was truly a different experience to work with some of these people. Just very different.
No, so I'm gonna give everybody just a quick reminder. Place your bets. Is Traci a friend or is she a frenemy? So throw your guess in the comment section.
Okay.
It's a single question, yes or no. It'll be fun. You'll get it in the end.
Okay.
And Shawn's going, "I'm even a little uneasy about this."
What's the question?
Oh no, you got to wait for the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but everybody else hopefully won't spoil it in the chat. We've had that happen.
Okay. So the acceptable answers in the chat are
friend or
frenemy. We do not need further elaboration on that. It spoils it.
Okay.
So
I want to circle back to the approach that you take with your clients, because I think humor is one of those things that honestly I think is missing from a lot of hypnotherapists and hypnotist sessions. You know, we tend to think we need to be all serious, and here you are with a rubber chicken and reframing people's worldview.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about some of those clients that you have that you know all of a sudden you did something or you said something or like, oh my gosh, you know, here we are, and then boom, you know, they get a startling revelation and a reframe.
There's a principle in comedy called the callback. And that's when you go through this long meandering story and then all of a sudden you bring it back full circle. So one of my favorite things I like to do with my clients is they tell me what the problem is, whatever it is. And as hypnotists, you know, the problem is not really the problem. It's what got so bad that they finally called you for help. That's the problem. But it's always repetitive. It's always comes back in another form, but they don't see it because it happens so far apart. And so, using the principle of the callback, I'm able to very lovingly throw it back in their face that this is the problem that they're having. And I'm trying to think of the example that I did, but I'm trying to think of when
I recently got thrown out of a Facebook group for doing something like that.
Well, it is kind of a dick move. I'm not going to lie. That's why
but
you
I did it. So I did it so very eloquently. He went and like just this diet tribe of like, you will, it's a motorcycle group, and it was like, you will respect me, or if you will have to deal with me. And I was like, for clarification, like, is there physical violence involved? Are we like obligated to kiss the ring? I'm trying to just illustrate like, this is how childish and dumb you sound. And then, yeah, it went south.
So I had one client who, her father, I'm just going to leave it in the most general terms, hurt himself. And then she went to a boyfriend in high school, and she decided he wasn't good for her anymore. So she went to break up with him, and he punched a window, and she ended up staying with him another year while his hand healed. Then she got married. She went to leave her husband because for whatever reason, and he ended up getting sick. And she thought, I'm done with men. So she went and became a lesbian for a while. She got involved in a lesbian relationship. She went to break that off. The woman got cancer, and she spent 2 more years taking care of this woman. Then now she's with a neighbor, and it's a booty call situation, but she's afraid to break up with this neighbor, and she doesn't know why. And I'm like, because every time you go to leave somebody's life, it takes you longer than you expect because they're injured in some way.
Stop breaking up with people. You'll cure cancer, lady.
Exactly. And so I pointed it out in the most loving way that every time I leave somebody, they get sick. And that now I'm afraid to leave somebody because he's going to get sick, when I just need to sit there and put on my big girl panties and realize this man isn't good for me in the first place, and just move on and to hell with him. Let somebody else pick up the pieces.
And if it's some type of like a casual, super casual thing, and it's like, if she was just honest, he would probably be like, okay, I understand. Like, I'm a little bummed, but like, I'm not going to go and,
but
play the human Frogger game across the freeway. It's
right. So it's finding those patterns and then lovingly putting them back in their face and just saying, oh, look at me. Oh, here's my pattern. I see it now. Mm-hmm. Now I know the pattern. Now I can break the pattern.
And it's like, you have to use a little bit of humor to gently, like, it's not a good idea to tell the boss's idea, but when you bring it full circle and they go, well, that's exactly, and then you just watch the light bulb go off in their head and they're just like, oh, I had the answer the entire time.
Yeah, but it's using what they think is funny too. So let me think here. I'm trying to think of one that I did where I was able to use something. One of my favorite examples, I've probably told this before. I had a guy who loved Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And I said, what's your favorite Dave Chappelle sketch? And he goes, oh, Rick James. Rick James, B word.
Right.
And I said, noted. So I wrote down Dave Chappelle, Rick James. So then I said, well, why are you here? And he shows me a text that his dad says, you don't deserve my last name. And he's crying as he's showing me this text. He goes, I'm a business owner and I am taking care of my 4-year-old son. And my dad is in and out of jail when I was growing up. He says, and he's telling me I don't deserve his last name. And I said, no problem. I said, do what I do, say what I say, follow along. And I started doing my little ritual thing. And I said, hey, Dad, I got that text. It hurt to read it where you said I didn't deserve your last name. But that's okay because I'm Rick James Jr. word.
Right.
And he just reached into his wallet and paid me. He
Oh
goes,
God.
exactly. He goes,
Yeah,
that is
that's
exactly what I needed to hear. And so we reframed the whole thing. What if Dave Chappelle was your dad? And it took it took everything away. So and I just used stuff that he thought was funny. That and honestly, I've never really watched a lot of Dave Chappelle. I just had to trust, what he told me, and I made him describe to me, how does he say it exactly? How does he say it? Oh, Rick J. And he got into it. I said, oh, okay, cool. So I knew enough just from what he told me, what he thought was funny, and it's gone. It's gone. And it's funny how I've done that with people, and it never bothers them again, because once you see something that's funny, you can't unsee it. Why would you ever want to see it the old way?
And
That
that's a lot of stuff. Like with the military, people are like, Brian, you got like such you have the ability to have incredibly dark humor. And I'm like, I grew up playing hockey, and some of the things that I have heard myself say on the ice, mostly to like draw penalties and just get under the other team's skin. I'm like, I understand. And then just like doing nightclub security, do you know how many drunk people have told me the most horrific things about me? And I'm like, okay, I'm just now performing speech. Like I just kind of shift into that mindset. And I'm like, okay, this has nothing to do with me. And
Mhm.
being able to also kind of in turn as a byproduct of that, be able to set my boundaries and go, sometimes like, I don't care if you're family, like I will cut you off like you're an infected limb and just completely discard you and not lose a wink of sleep.
Mhm.
And there's an incredible amount of strength that comes in that, but then there's also that, what's the old saying, that change only happens when it becomes more painful to continue doing the same thing than it is to actually do something about it.
You would think, but not necessarily. If you hit it in the right light, and if you
Mm-hmm.
reframe their experience with humor,
Mm-hmm.
you can't go back to it. I've never had a client say, you know what, Trace, what we did was so funny, but I'm right back where I started. I've never had that.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
so
sometimes
weird.
you kind of have to go, okay, so let me get this straight. If I'm following
So
you correctly,
yeah, so giving them,
you're doing all of these things, and your father says like you don't deserve his last name. Like, what has he done for you?
yeah,
Like,
but it's finding the links, and that's the hardest part for me to teach. How did I go from Rick James Jr. to you don't deserve my last name? How did I make that connection that this isn't his dad, but we're going to pretend it's his dad? And that's an art. It's years of comedy training where you take things that don't belong. One of my first routines is as a comedian was I joined a Girl Scout troop, and that was run by two strippers who needed community service hours. So I joined Troop 69. I got started on my indoor gardening badge. I had to grow this plant in my closet. You're taking two things that just don't belong, strippers and the Girl Scouts. And then,
and a
I had
plant's in
to,
your closet. Like, if you don't know what that
right,
alludes to, but there's
right.
that subtlety, and I'm sure there's a callback to that.
But that's what you do. You take, so comedy, you take something that happened that was really crappy in your life. Okay, because let's face it, if you go on a date, and you're like, oh my gosh, she was just gorgeous, and we had this really romantic meal, and oh, we both ordered this amazing bottle of wine. Oh, boring, right? But if you go
Mhm.
on a date and the guy, picks you up in a jalopy, and then, to order dinner, he had to roll down the window, and the speaker was out at the McDonald's, and he, I can't believe he didn't get me a plain cheeseburger. And so it's it's the crappiness that's funny. The crap is funny. And so guess
And
what? Your
sometimes that's
clients
like
are
a
coming to you
bonding
because they're feeling great. Your clients are coming to you because their life is crappy. So
And sometimes those little goofs or those hiccups can actually, form a bond in a relationship. It's like, I mean, this never rolled into anything, but I remember I met up with this lady, and I pulled up to park, and I go to grab everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm like 20 minutes early. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot my wallet. So I called her. I'm like, okay, here's the owner's name. Here's his wife. Here's like, I've known these people for years. I legitimate, like, I'm not blowing you off. I need to run home. Like, I'll be back in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And like, grab a table, grab a drink, all that stuff. And, so I show up. I'm like, see, I promise you, this is not like, I know this has all the makings of like being stood up or anything. And like, I felt horrible because it was an honest mistake, but I'm like, you just have to make a joke of it, going like, out of all the times that I forget my wallet, and it was one of those things where I'm like, it was in a different pair of pants or in a different coat that I'd been wearing. And so, and to her credit, she was incredibly gracious and laughed it off. And
and you could have been like, I am the worst catfisher in history because
Yeah.
I actually told you I wasn't going to be there, and then I showed up.
Oh.
He's getting a pen and paper now. Yeah.
Note to self.
Right. Worst catfish. Oh, that's even a T-shirt. Worst catfisher in history.
Oh god, yeah. So I've got a couple of women friends that I'm like the big brother that they never wanted.
I was going to say, because when you refer to them as women friends, you're totally not sleeping with them,
right? And so, I'm just going to throw a name out there. My friend Jessica, she's just absolutely a wonderful, wonderful human being. And, ironically, we met on a dating app, went out once, and then just like the romantic stuff wasn't there, but like we got along famously. And so we kind of gripe back and forth, dating stuff and this guy and blah, blah, whatever. And so it was finally like, I keep getting these dick pics or these, raunchy messages or whatever. I'm like, forward them to me. I'm like, I will just unleash every bit of like angry rage and everything like that with sarcasm and just let you go nuclear. Cause she was like, oh my God, take a look at this and send me a friend request. And it would be like, send this back. And she's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. So and I'm like, and it became a game that was just like our entertainment.
So I actually had a date before my husband with a guy who stood me up, texted me 12 hours later and said, come over to my place. I'll answer the door naked. And if you like what you see, come in. And I was like, no, thank you. And he goes, oh, that's how it's going to be. And he's like, I'd F you so hard, I'd charge you $350 an hour. And I was like, what on earth are we doing here?
That sounds like it'd be the best 90 seconds of my life.
I thought about it for a minute, and I was selling Pure Romance sex toys at that point in time. And I took pictures of all my inventory, which was I sent over 25 pictures, and it was 3 toys per picture. And I said, hey, I appreciate the offer, but I just want you to know I outsourced your dick to China. And they love me one more time.
Okay. Game respects game. That is, oh God, I am. Oh.
So that's how I handled it. And then he was like, lose my number.
Oh man, I can never meet your husband because I'll shake his hand. I'll be like, thank you for bringing jobs back to the United States.
Thank you for taking her off the market. She's brutal.
Oh God, yeah, because sometimes like when you have to stand up to like these narcissistic bullies, you just call them on it. And it's like, okay, whatever you're saying has no bearing. My ex-wife, we had like a court hearing, and it was like we're in court once a week, and this is, God, I can't even remember how long ago it was, but every time I'd walk by, whether it's from the parking lot to the courthouse or the courtroom or inside, whatever, I'd walk by and I'd just hear piece of shit.
Oh,
And so
watch that
she's on the
TikTok account.
yeah she's on the phone, and she says the same thing, and I finally just stopped, about face, walked up, leaned over, and I was like, and she's on the phone, and she's like, hold on. I said, can you do me a favor? You keep saying the same thing over and over. It's like the summer reruns. It's like listening to like a Taylor Swift song over and over on repeat. It's just getting old. It's unbearable. I'm like, can you please, just for the love of God and all that is holy, come up with new material, please? And then like the look on her face just short circuited her brain, and it was like, mission accomplished. I turned around and walked off, and I never heard any of that garbage again. And it's like you recognize that they're looking for some type of a reaction,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to call you the crazy one.
Mm-hmm. As they should.
Like I've said many times, who needs friends? Or who needs enemies when I have friends like you guys? And
feeling good about yourself? Screw that. Call Tracy.
Oh God, I gotta go. I got that new bath bomb that came in the mail. It's oddly toaster shaped, but
yeah, I'm part Arab. Like bath bombs, you should not be talking to me about.
Looks like Becca is having the time of her life right now.
Oh yeah, it's
a Taylor Swift song on repeat. You don't even have to put it on repeat. All her songs sound the same.
Oh, well played, Becca. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and she's not wrong.
So Travis Kelce lost the Super Bowl. I wonder what the next album's going to be like.
Oh well, good for her. Honestly, I'm not her greatest fan, but she does a lot of good things in the world. Tipping her drivers and stuff like that. I like that she does incorporate a lot of humanitarian things in there, and I think that's admirable.
And you can't argue that she doesn't have talent, like even from a young age, and fortunately she had some decent people around her, but then it turned into, it's like once she got into the machine there was no getting out, and she's trying to make the best of it, but
she's done some brilliant moves, like when the one guy took her original song list, and then she re-recorded all the songs with little twists. It's just genius.
I think if I recall correctly, it was like the original recordings were property of whatever record label or whatever, and then she just went, okay,
yeah,
she
re-recorded all of them.
Like I wrote it, so I'll re-record it and it'll be mine. And
it was actually a genius move. So kudos to her. I like to see women doing well.
Exactly.
I like to see everybody doing well, but that she's played a lot of, she was dealt a good hand, and she really made it work for her. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's it right there. Regardless of the hand that you are dealt, you still have to play it. And, unfortunately, I think in many cases the school system doesn't tell people how to play their cards to maximize what they can do. It's often learned outside of the system, usually with the parent, but not always, because you can ask your parents for some advice and you'll get their advice from their life and from their point of view. And it's probably not going to be exactly what you want it to be, because you're doing something, and not that you want to quote Monty Python, and now for something completely different, right?
Yeah.
And so, you need to get around people who can, you can bond with. So for you, it was definitely, comedians, hypnotists now, and, I've mentioned this many times. For me, it's been Brian and Jim and Grant and a whole slew of people that I never would have met, unless I got involved. And
Mm-hmm.
that to me was kind of a key turning point. And I think that's the piece that people need to realize. Even if you haven't seen a key turning point in your life, take heart. It will come if you play your cards right.
There's always there's always a message out there, and so I had an ad specialty business, and I thought, what if I could do comedy? So then I started doing comedy, and then I got hired at a clothing optional resort. What if I created a show just for nudists, and then it became Nudists and Swingers? So it was just constantly thinking outside the box, and so much of what we do is trying to force people to fit in the box. And it works for some people. I was not a box girl. um, I was like, what else can I do? How can I make this better? What can I do? What can I do different? And even in my comedy that reflected that, I had two separate shows. One was the Princess of Parodies, which was my regular club act, and then for my swingers it was the Dominatrix of Ditties. And it was just such an adventure to, okay, now what can I do? That was fun. Now what can I do? And that's where people need to just constantly push past their boundaries, because if it doesn't scare you, it's probably not going to get you where you need to be, because everything you want's on the other side of fear. And there's actually I'm looking at doing a coaching program now.
Sometimes there's an angry clown
Yeah, sometimes that was a
in
lot
a
of
biker
fear.
bar in
That was
Georgia.
5 years of fear
Yeah.
in McDonald's wrappers. Anyway,
Yeah,
he ate a lot of McDonald's.
that
Um,
was the 10-2 offsuit
yeah,
cards
but
being
like
dealt in your life.
now I'm looking at doing a coaching program, and I'm I'm terrified to do it. And it's not that I don't have the chops to do it. I'm terrified of the time commitment. But I think
Mhm.
I'm going to do it anyway, because I think that the ladies that I have in mind for this program, they would benefit immensely from it, and I think I would too.
Now,
Um,
are you is your hesitation with in terms of time commitment, like you're going to be spread too thin, that
mhm.
it's going to take you away from other things that are bearing fruit financially
Um,
and
well, I think it's going to be a short-term loss for a big gain. So basically, I'm looking
okay.
at test marketing a year-long coaching program. I'm going to cater it towards women who are trying to recapture their mojo or get back in touch with their goddess. And goddess is the new word that I'm using right now, because so many
Mhm.
women, they get fractured between work and children, and then they got to relationships, or they're single and they're stuck in singledom, or they're married and they're stuck in marrieddom, and they're just not pushing their limits. So with this coaching program, it will be a session with me once a month, 2 hour-long coaching sessions, group coaching.
Mhm.
And then there's a movement component, because I'm studying something now. It's healing to move. And
Okay.
so a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, and the inflammation in my body was off the charts. I spent 3 years tweaking my diet, IV fluid treatments.
Mhm.
Um, and now I have a good system for myself. And the last component of it was movement, but I hadn't moved in 3 years because it hurt. So I found a movement program, because now I can push some of the anger, some of the frustration that was stuck in my body. I can push through that with this movement program without being on a treadmill. Um, exercise with your bare feet. And so I'm looking at putting all that together so that there's a group that goes through this program. So I was going to test it for 3 months with some friends of mine.
So
And
there's some sort of like, okay, we're going to do these things to recognize, diagnose, let's make some remedial changes, and now we're going to
Yep.
have some sort of an action component to it of.
Yep. And with the year-long coaching, so we'll cover, we'll spend a month on body image, a month on finances. And so basically it's reworking your whole life as much as you're willing to work it over a year's time. But with that comes body image, checking in with the relationship, whether it be a relationship with a significant other, a relationship with your body, and doing a whole look at that. So it's scary for me because I've never thought long term. As a hypnotist, you're like, oh, a session, package of sessions, but this is a year-long commitment. So
no, that's pretty awesome. I would be excited to hear about how that works out with. I'm going to use the term your testing group of your friends, like you described, and if it's like, yeah, this is successful, how can we, drive business your way or refer people to you, because you're somebody that I trust, and you've got the experience in the background.
I'm actually getting ready to teach an exercise class, which is like, what?
Now on the you mentioned something about finances. I've got a friend of mine in Orlando, Kissimmee area, who's a wealth manager and financial advising, stuff like that. So if there's any way that I can have him get in contact with you or provide any information or however we can support your endeavors, let me know. I'm happy to make those phone calls.
Most of my work it's not going to be steering people towards that. It's going to be freeing up the lessons you learned about money that are keeping you stuck. So
yeah,
it's a mindset shift.
Yeah, I meant that because I remember one of the things that he would do was it was almost like a finance 101, like here's how credit cards work and how they make their money, and it's that, and he's like, anytime I have to get a new client coming in who's already not like an accredited investor, or we're doing a 401k rollover, it's, hey, I want to come in and invest because somebody said that's what I need to do. And he's like, okay, well, first I need you to spend the next 18 months like getting out of debt.
Yeah.
If you don't have, it's like the acceptable forms of debt are like a mortgage, maybe a car payment or something like that. You're rebuilding stuff, but he goes, if you've got, if you're not paying credit cards off at the end of the month, start with that. Because we can't make you money fast enough to overcome the interest rates that you're being paid on some outrageous balance. So
yep. So anyway, so that's my coaching program.
No, I'm excited about that. That's awesome. I think a lot more people need stuff like that.
It's kind of, people are like, oh, well, I need to exercise, so I'll go to the gym. Oh, I need a diet, so I'll follow this diet program. But the one thing that they never change is their attitude towards all that stuff. And so this will be changing the overall attitude and acknowledging if there's anger, sadness, guilt, and then using the movement to push through that and to get that out of your system.
Well, there's also people like, oh, I went to the gym and it didn't do anything. I didn't have fun. I hired a personal trainer and I wasn't getting it was like, you're doing the stuff at the gym and going through the motions, but the food intake at home and the poor, other choices that you're making, that's offsetting. And now it's the gym's fault or it's the personal trainer's fault. Like you got to take away all the other stuff that's blaming and looking, where's the common denominator in this equation.
But it's also doing little wins too.
Oh, for sure.
Because, there's a lot of people like myself who have autoimmunes and movement is hard. And so like, even when I talked about this coaching program with a couple of my friends, they're not movers. And an hour was terrifying. I go, what if we did 20 minutes? Could you move? Just move for 20 minutes. And they're like, yeah, I could do 20 minutes. So we'll even be starting with a 20-minute movement a couple of times a week. And that's actually how I started with my thing this year. I set a goal that I was feeling well enough that I was going to work out 20 minutes 250 times. And
that's kind of like what Jim was saying. He goes, I have clients, it's like, okay, I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk.
I've done 92 workouts this year.
Awesome.
92 20-minute workouts this year.
You're on pace to do about 300 then.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of these workouts I have bumped up to an hour because I'm feeling that much better. But I started, my January, it was 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Okay, got that 20 minutes out. I'm good. And then I was like, wow, that was kind of easy. Let me try 30. Maybe I could do 40. And then I think I could do 60 if I just take it easy. And so actually
and then you begin to kind of not so much like get addicted to it, but like you look forward to it.
Yeah.
The first time I started doing testosterone therapy, I'm like, I got to poke myself in a needle, with a needle, an injection a couple times a week. And then it was like, okay, you get over that after the first or second one. And then you go, oh my God, I feel amazing. I feel human again.
Yeah.
Then you go, I get to take my shot. Like in 2 more days, I get to take another shot. And so now it's just like, all right, I just roll with it. And it's a complete mindset shift of just looking forward to those things. And then you're like, okay, now I feel better. I want to do more of this. And it just kind of builds and snowballs from there.
Yeah.
It is the self-fulfilling, reinforcing, prophecy. Does action precede thought, or does thought precede action? Or do they have a relationship where they just start reinforcing? And the more you do it, the stronger the habit gets. And the stronger the habit gets, the more you think about it, and the more you want to do it. And, you start spiraling up instead of down.
Yeah. But it's getting that momentum, getting the small wins, which are so important. So.
Exactly. You don't have to start. I like what Alex Hormozy actually says about it. You have to give yourself permission to suck. And I take full responsibility for it. And on TikTok here, I've got one of my fellow educators who's over in Manitoba, and she would back me up on this. I think the one thing that I can safely say is that the school system has failed in the sense that we have demonized failure. The only time that there's actual failure is when people stop trying. Yeah. And we love that, because if we give you a 0, that's it. You're a 0, buddy, and that's all you're ever going to get. And it demonizes the fact that, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get it this time. Let me try it again. And as adults, how many times do we try something before we get it right? Did your act start all polished and everything else? No, you needed some work. We talked about that. That's how we navigate life.
How many rockets did Elon Musk blow up before he went, okay, well, that's just another thing that we found out didn't work, so we're going to make some changes and we're going to give her another go?
Yeah, none, because he probably never pushed the launch button.
How many rockets did SpaceX blow up?
Well, that's one way to avoid failure. Yeah. Don't push the launch button.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother tangent we can go to, right? And my fellow educator Jen, she said, "Yeah, oof, right there." It's like, there's only, if you want to avoid life, can you do it? Sure. Are you going to feel the pain of regret? Absolutely. But until that pain of regret grows past the pain of actually getting out there and doing it, or the pain of doing it actually outgrows the need for sitting on the sideline. I think everybody knows what I'm trying to say. Until you're ready to get out there, but when you do, you find out very quickly, oh my God, if I think this way and act this way and do this, and then if I think this way and act this way and do this, that's life. and you will feel a whole lot better about yourself as you start spiraling upwards.
Yep.
And
Indeed.
like the people who have like the anxiety and sometimes fear is a healthy thing because it keeps you from doing stupid stuff. But people go, well, I
Well, it's
want
supposed to
to,
keep you from doing stupid stuff, but
yeah. I mean, I am embracing my midlife crisis with open arms. I'm going to completely stipulate to that. But like I asked some people about, hey, I'm going to go skydiving with a group of people. Do you want to go? And they're like, no, I'd like to live. And I was like, and I countered that. I said, do you want to live or do you just want to exist? Because you can sit in your little padded safety bubble and never take any type of risk, know anything, and that when you get drafted up to the big leagues like Jim, everybody looks back on your life and it's like, okay, someone's going to be reading the summary of your life, and is it going to be he lived kind of these fruitful things with accomplishments, and he made a difference. I mean, you don't have to go cure cancer, but did you put smile on people's faces? Was it productive, or did you just sit at home and scream at kids to get off your lawn?
Yeah.
And what are you going to be sitting on, laying on your deathbed in the final moments, looking back going, I wish I would have, and so it's like, go out and embrace life, have your, you look at guys like Travis Pastrana and Jeb Corliss, the wingsuit guy, they go out and they do these risky things, but they're like, okay, we're going to calculate our risk and we're going to mitigate it as much as we can. And here's acceptable tolerances of what's okay and what's not. And there's times that you have to walk away from stuff that's not safe or it's not good, and go back and revisit another day. And, it's Becca says, so true. Comfort zones just make you exist and not actually live life. Like not coming to Las Vegas, Becca, for the summit.
I think she had other reasons though.
No, she gets a pass this year. That was,
but next year,
yeah. And so it's yeah. I mean, other than or I guess what would you call it, the leadership type, the thing that you're testing.
Oh, the coaching program.
Yeah, the coaching program. I'm sorry, the words escaped me for a second. Is there anything else that's exciting going on in your life? Shows that are coming up, different events that you're doing?
I'm doing the Hypnosis conference in Orlando.
Okay.
In May 15th, 16th, 17th, and I'm teaching a hilarity and hypnosis class. I think I'm teaching another, just a 1 hour, 2 hour thing at Hypnothoughts. Other than that, I keep busy. So, I'm not this mega hypno junkie. I go to the big shows when I can. The one in Orlando it's close.
Right.
But between, I'm also president of my condo association at the nudist community. So that keeps, wow. In retrospect, I should have done that first and then done comedy. Because there's always some amazing things that people do. But yeah, so I keep pretty busy between all that.
How did you get that stuck in? Never mind, I don't want to know.
With the community?
Oh, yeah.
So as part of my divorce package, I got this commercial building, and one of my tenants wanted to buy it, and it was an opportunity to never set foot in that town again. And then I did a 1031 exchange, and I bought 4 or 5 condos in the nudist community, which is now 7 or 8, 9. So I don't know how many. A lot, more than 10. And so we have the Airbnb business, and mostly my husband runs that. And the president at the time had resigned 2.5 years ago, and I didn't like the other candidates, and I'm like, I have a lot of money here, and so it was mostly to protect my investment. And I had some ideas on things that I could do with the community, and I'm starting to do them, and it's really fun. So a lot of my
Like it's pissing a lot of other people off. Huzzah!
actually no, it's believe it or not, we had no activities 4 years ago. And then this past year, I recognized 75 volunteers for their contributions to the community. We have
Oh, that's awesome.
281 units. 281 units and 75 volunteers. That's, like a third of everybody is doing something, whether it be playing music or painting the dumpster, cute murals on our dumpster walls so that they just don't look so crappy. So planting a garden. I've had the artists painting picnic tables. So I do a lot of good, cool things. And then my husband and I, we plan probably 25 events for the community a year between golf cart parades and potlucks.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, so it's a pretty active, like right now we have a big weekend. We have a golf cart parade, Good Friday, and then we have 2 or 3 potlucks going on Easter Sunday. So,
so I imagine
yeah,
a lot of golf carts have the cloth seating instead of the vinyl.
Actually, no, they're all vinyl. But
because I would not want to sit bare-assed on a golf cart seat sitting out in the sun.
Well,
I mean,
as nudists are very clean people. They have a tushy towel, and so they take their tushy towel wherever they go so that they're not sharing in that way. Yeah, so between the hypnosis business, my Airbnb business, and the community.
See, like I wouldn't realize how hot it gets in Florida. I'd fly from the Pacific Northwest and be like, oh, here, yeah. We jump in the golf cart and be like, who's cooking bacon? Oh, my goodness, it's my sausage.
One of the other things I do, I play piano. So I have a group called the Quadratonics, and I have 2 baby grands, and we play 2 piano 8-hand duets, two people per piano, and we do shows for our community. So yeah, I keep really busy.
No, that is awesome.
So making the effort to have a community come together is huge. And it's not easy. I know this because it's with 28 school divisions to create an IT community. It was like herding cats for about 5 years before everybody kind of said, you know what, if we just do this together, it'll be a whole lot easier and a whole lot better for everybody. And after that real revelation, all of a sudden, hey, there's ideas flying and things, people that want to partner together, do this, that. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, and I also chair the association. So, and only because my uncle retired and looked at me and said, "You're it." So,
Shawn wasn't fast enough for the 1, 2, 3, not it.
I make it fun. Even like our board meetings, I infuse jokes all the time. I'm like, hey, everybody, let's give it up for the best board in your price range. We're all free. And, and so we just have fun with it. It just makes it easier. And, I have a couple of pain in the butt residents, but they're in the minority for the most part. Most everybody's pretty happy. My whole thing is, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. And putting that fun in everything just makes such a big difference. And that people are excited to be a part of it.
And Clarence says, "Oh yeah, Easter is coming up this weekend." I'm like, what's Easter like in the nudist camp? Is it like dodging a bunch of lightning bolts?
Well, hiding your Easter eggs is a whole different connotation. Hiding your carrot too.
Oh God, there's a there's a completely inappropriate Easter Bunny joke, but I'll have to. I'll just text it to you.
Well, actually, the parade is one of my favorites because all of the children's music for Easter, like we're going on an Easter egg hunt. The double entendres. It's just hilarious. I just laugh and laugh at the children's Easter songs that we play during the parade. They're crazy. A lot of fun.
The
little rabbit foo-foo.
There goes the naked guy with the little Peter Cottontail on the back with bunny ears on, streaking across, and you're like, oh.
That's actually the theme of our parade. Here comes Peter Cottontail.
God, wasn't it Bugs Bunny that was always putting a carrot in his mouth?
Yeah. We have a lot of fun.
Wrong character.
Coming up after this, we'll have Memorial Day, and then we do a Rainbow Fest. And actually, one of our golf cart parades, we made it to HGTV. They did Realtors Gone Wild, and they did an episode in our community. And I coordinated
a lot of blurred stuff out.
Actually, I don't know that they didn't have much to blur. Because we're more of a hybrid community, but yeah. Anyhow, so
meaning you don't frown upon the people who remain clothed.
No.
Okay.
I mean, there are Nazi nudist communities, but that's not ours.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
God,
ours
there's
is
a Hitler
hybrid
mustache joke there that I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yeah.
On that note, we should probably ask the question and let everybody know that once we have that answer, we will jump into our hypnosis portion of the show. And Traci, you are welcome to lead anybody, all the people here, all the people that are going to watch in the future. Because oddly enough, there are a lot of people who maybe can't make it live, but they will watch after the fact.
Okay.
So you're welcome to lead them in a short hypnosis session. I suspect with some hilarity.
Well, most of the hilarity is covert. The most of the hilarious stuff is in the waking hypnosis. So I'd be more than happy to do that
absolutely
in lieu of a traditional hypnosis session.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that we want to promote is, there isn't just one way to do hypnosis, and there isn't just, everybody's got a take on it. Everybody's got their own personal spin on it, and you've added a whole layer of additional humor that, like I said, most of us, I don't think we don't ever tap into it. And that's something.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I look serious, but I do have a sense of humor. I can't let it out for at least 2 more years. So,
per the terms and conditions of his probation.
I prefer to think of it as a contract, but
for contractual obligations, that sounds so much better. I'm going to include that on my dating profile.
Anyway, Brian, we need to ask the question.
All right. True or false? Upside down pineapple belongs on pizza or
not?
No. And here's why. Why the hell are you putting a whole pineapple uncut on your pizza?
I threw the upside down pineapple because what you were getting at.
You were trying to be funny.
Pineapple.
You trying to be funny in a swinger way.
Oh God. You're not my mom. So pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh, no.
Okay.
That means Traci is a friend.
Yes. Yeah, no fish, no fruit, no fungus goes on a pizza.
Mushrooms, yeah. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, no fish, no fruit, no fungus. And actually, Traci can't even do pizza.
I'm like fungus. I'm like, what kind of pizza? And then I was like, oh wait, never mind. She traveled with a clown in Georgia and met Gallagher.
Yeah, now,
Uh,
yeah, all my diet's gluten free, soy free, dairy free, nightshade free, liquor free,
taste free.
taste free.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
Yes, with no cheese.
Wait, how? Oh, time out. Yes, pineapple on pizza with no cheese. Does
You might as well just get pineapple jam and put it on the toast.
with marinara sauce, which odd choice in and of itself, but
Yeah, it's
you
like
know,
eating spam with Fruit Loops. Just no, no.
both okay separately. Just you don't combine them outside the stomach.
Right,
And
right. Yeah, no mushrooms, no anchovies, no mushrooms, no fruit.
yeah, people are trying to like do pizzas like they're trying to like microbrew beer. Like, oh, we got this spicy pumpkin ale. I'm like, just pepperoni, sausage,
Oh,
bacon.
they
Call it
started
good.
doing barbecued chicken pizza. I'm like, no,
We
pick
want
one.
cheeseburger pizza. I'm like, no, you don't.
If I wanted a cheeseburger, I'd have a cheeseburger.
Yeah, I draw the line at hybrid cars. It's just
Yeah.
like there's a time and a place for them. And but no, that's
Oh, wait, there was a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw that scroll across. I'm like,
Traci was
not
like,
try Traci at home.
Where was that an hour and a half ago?
Yeah, no, basic disclaimer for those of you that are listening to this after the fact, as we edit it out and put it out as an audio podcast, and for those of you that are watching later on, and for those of you that are watching now, hypnosis does rely on focus, and so if you need to focus on your current circumstances, i.e., you're driving, you're cooking, and I did have that on a TikTok video once where I made the joke, if you are actually chopping vegetables, and she's typed back right away, actually, I was cutting the broccoli. I said, well, then don't listen. But if you're driving, you're cooking, you're doing something that requires your attention, please do not watch or listen to this part of the podcast. And, we just want you to be safe. So get yourself into a nice, comfortable position, because I believe Traci is going to lead us in a little bit of hypnosis and hilarity.
Yeah, get yourself in a position and keep in mind that if she says sleep and you slump over, we are not in any position to help you or know that.
So let's get some suggestions from the people in the chat. Because I like to make stuff up. So go ahead and just put in the chat. Let me think here.
This is like hypnosis Mad Libs.
It is. That's my whole life is a Mad Lib. Give me a couple of activities that you enjoy doing. And I definitely want to see something from Becca Rose, because she's been so busy with comments all night. God bless her. Stuff that you like to do. And I'll go ahead and create an induction around that. All right. And if you type really slow, that makes this go so much better.
I was working with Grant earlier today, and I mentioned to him, because we were trying to move some files across. I said,
"Oh, that's why you didn't answer."
It's probably the wires, that go underneath the ocean. It takes a little while to travel.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, nothing's coming up.
It's got to go through customs.
Well, at least with some of your 3-lettered agencies, you guys, they're probably filtering and listening, trying to figure out if we're talking about something we shouldn't. Who knows?
3-letter agencies saying 4-letter words.
Well, we have a 4-letter agency. We really don't mention them that much. So,
all right. Quilting. Yay, perfect. Something I know something about. Quilting.
Yeah. Traci, who was also at PHS this year. Welcome, Traci.
All right. And she spells her name correctly, too.
I figured I figured Traci would get a very, very much enjoyment after searching for her lost puppy. And if you were there for that show, you would be laughing.
And putting puzzles. Quilting and puzzles. Okay. That's all right, Becca. We got you. We'll go ahead with quilting and puzzles. Oh, music and dance.
I know Becca's into like the trance house music raver stuff.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah. Was it drum and bass and
yeah. Nudist, swinger, mediocre beatboxer. Okay, Traci. All right, here we go. All right, and music. All right. People of all ages, this will be a session incorporating quilting, puzzles, music, and dance. DNB girl. What is DNB?
Drum and bass.
Oh, drum and bass girl. Okay. Thank you. All right. Go ahead and stop reading the disclaimer. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in. And when you exhale, when you're done laughing, then you can start exhaling the crap you don't want.
But, Traci, I promise you. So you've heard of my friend's retired drug dog. He's a yellow lab. He's 10. You were like, okay, I want you to start by taking in a big deep breath. And I heard, as he stretches, he's on the floor in the office here. I heard that and I was like, please tell me we heard that on the microphone.
No, we didn't. I just thought you were being a dick.
No, it was time. I couldn't have made that up. So okay. Now I've composed myself, kind of.
All right. Make sure your dog doesn't have gas.
he was groaning. He wasn't farting.
Okay. Make sure your dog doesn't have groan gas. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in. And when you exhale, just think to yourself, relax. Go ahead and take another nice deep breath in. And when you exhale, just think to yourself, relax. And go ahead and take another nice deep breath in. And when you exhale, just think to yourself, relax. And go ahead and breathe normally. As I count down from 5 to 1, I want you to go ahead and pick whatever analogy works best for you out of these 5 choices. So starting with 5. Quilting. Imagine your life as if everything that ever happened to it has happened on a piece of fabric. And 4. Perhaps your life is more like a puzzle and that each memory is its own puzzle piece. And 3. Perhaps your life is much like a piece of music filled with notes, staff, and rest. And 2. Imagine that your life is a bit of a dance with different choreographies and different movements that go with the music you're listening to. Or 1, perhaps your life is much like a dog that groans. But is always there as your companion. As you drop down, Find yourself with each one of these, whichever one speaks the loudest to you. And what I want you to do now is imagine going to the superhero hypnosis store. And at the superhero hypnosis store, you're going to go ahead and pick out your hypnosis superhero costume. If you're into the quilting, go ahead and pick out the fabric that fits best for you. If you're into puzzles, go ahead and find the best puzzle pieces that fit for you. Because with every piece of fabric or every puzzle piece, there comes with it a special superhero power, talent, or gift that you already have or would like to have. If you've chosen music or dance, go ahead and pick those notes that make your superhero song complete or your superhero dance complete. And if you wish to add a dog as your sidekick, go ahead and do that now. And now go ahead, think about your superhero costume, your superhero hypnosis costume. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What are you able to do with this? Think about the abilities that you would like to have, whether it's reading people better, transforming them quicker, reaching more people. And think about how you're going to go ahead and implement this, taking these qualities that you wish to have or already have and magnifying them, and how you're going to reach all the people that you wish to reach, empowering yourself. And in this moment, I'd like you to go ahead and think about 4 times in your life, one at a time. The first time will be a time that you were really, really curious about something, where you had to do research, where you had to learn all you could about it. Maybe it was with hypnosis. But go ahead and think about a time when you were curious. And now think about a time when you were playful. A time when it was just all about fun. There were no rules. The only rule was to have as much fun as possible. And now go ahead and think of a time when you were relentless, where you had to stick to it. You had a goal to reach and you had to get through it. And now go ahead and think of a time when you were victorious, when all these came together and you accomplished your goal. Think about putting all of these pieces together into your quilt, your puzzle, your music, and dance. Think about how amazing it feels to be immersed in all the things that you love, pushing your limits, pushing yourself beyond your limits. Even though it scares you, just taking that little step over the line so that you can achieve your goals and your dreams, pushing yourself a little farther each day. See yourself living a life that you want, but maybe is a little scary, and using curious, playful, relentless, and victorious to push you over that line. Using those 4 tools to get you to live the life that you want to live. Acquiring the skills that you need to complete your quilt, your puzzle, and your song and dance. And when you have that down, go ahead and replay that vision of yourself helping others, sharing what you do best in hypnosis with as many people as possible. And go ahead and repeat this over and over in your mind. as many times as you like until it's so powerful and so vivid and so real that nobody can take it away, not even you. And when you have a vision of how your quilt, puzzle, song, and dance look completed, go ahead and put that picture in your mind as I count you from 1 to 5, coming back to your full and regular waking consciousness on 5, starting with 1, taking this time to reconnect with you, the best of you, finding a way to weave your magic pieces into your life, creating a fulfilling, satisfying life. And 2, taking these gifts that you have and sharing them with others. And 3, giving yourself permission to live your best life. And 4, quilting, puzzles, music, and dance, enjoying life to the fullest, making sure that you incorporate a little bit of fun in everything you do. And 1, 2, 3, 4, ready to jive, ready to thrive, and ready to come alive. There's no going back to the old you once you open your eyes on 5. Eyes open, wide awake with the vision of your quilt, puzzle, song, and dance as your roadmap to a new life and a new pathway.
As you come back into the room, let us know how that was for you. What I often find, for myself, especially working with clients, is if you can connect with their metaphor, their way of interpreting life, it just makes everything so much easier, so much more perfect for them to grab a hold of and run with it.
Mm-hmm. I did a whole session with a lady who was a costume designer for a cruise ship. And she couldn't describe her mother using regular words. And I said, if your mother was a piece of fabric, what would she be like? And she was like, oh my gosh, she would be the ugliest color crushed velvet with the holes worn. And I mean, she just went into it, describing the fabric. It was wild. And then I did another one. I haven't done one with puzzles. I have done a lot with quilting and sewing. I did a hybrid of that, this Hypnosis Superstore with a lady who was a belly dancer. And I had her pick out her belly dance costume. And she picked qualities like vibrancy and shimmies. And she actually made the costume.
Ooh.
And we anchored it into, I think her words was happy turquoise. But she actually went and made the costume. And that was her performance outfit for a long time. So
nice.
Yeah, that's why I like to do creative inductions.
Becca says, love it, feeling so good. Clarence says, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, and a superhero costume on Clarence. I love it. Love it, love it.
Yeah, it is, again, it is always amazing to me because we all have our perspectives and our stories. But when two people can connect over the same story, that's when real power to shape our lives really takes place.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Becca says,
Becca, go mix your DJ decks. Do it.
Yeah,
it's 3 a.m. It's early. You'll get a jump on.
If you're inspired, do it now.
No, she's actually had a variety of different tracks. Like she'll send me little videos, and now, granted, the trance music makes very little sense to me. But I'm like, there's kind of a place for that in like a hypnosis show, whether you're trying to get the crowd amped up or kind of that in between, filler music. There's I think there's a place for it.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the deal. You don't yuck on someone else's yum.
How do you say that, Brian?
May not be your thing.
It's not. No, what I was saying is I don't understand it, or it doesn't make sense to me as like a mainstream. I'm not saying that it's crap. I'm saying like I recognize there's a spot where like that could be used in a hypnosis show.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely was trying to be uplifting and encouraging on that.
When you have something that's rhythmic and has a beat, people tend to, and I can hear speaking of, you may not be able to hear it on the microphone, but my oldest boy is a bass player and he's starting to strum on his bass downstairs. So it's probably...
Is that a euphemism for something, Shawn?
No, it's
a euphemism for dog that groans. That's a callback, by the way.
Come here, sir. Come on.
That's a callback.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I remember. But
yeah, it's a good boy. Well, you know what?
There you go. Okay, I thought we lost Brian, or was it me that froze? I don't know.
Yeah, Brian froze.
Brian froze. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cold weather in Seattle. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
It's 60 degrees Frankenstein out here.
Yeah, well, it's only like 5 out here, so, but that's freedom units up here. So above 0 means it's melting. We'll take it. But just to end off here, I think one of the things that we can say overall is, regardless of the path that we take in life, we accumulate experiences, and those experiences become the stories that we tell. It becomes the messaging that shapes how we think about and how we interact with people. And through and comedians, of course, are really very good at this. You get some teachers who are very good at it in a more subtle way, with not necessarily with overt teacher jokes, but in order to reshape and reframe the things that are holding us back, that humor can play such an important pivotal role in just breaking through whatever. I always liken hypnosis when we're doing some change work to a dam. When they pull the floodgate, it isn't water that comes out. It's the gunk, it's the mud, it's the debris.
It's all the crap at the bottom.
Yeah, the fish that died, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, slowly, the water starts coming out, and then right away it's gushing. Well, if you can...
And then out shoots Jimmy Hoffa's body. Mystery is solved.
Yeah, and then if you can flow after that, then, problem solved. But in order to get to that, sometimes you need to take a good hard look at what's going on and do it in a way that's funny, lighthearted, isn't confrontational. Because I think we've all had more than our fair share of everything being confrontational. So certainly
that's one of the things that I teach is you can make fun of somebody in a bad way, but if you start with love in your heart and say, hey, look, I'm pointing this out to you because I love you and I want you to be better, not because I want to be mean and hurt you. That it's a different attitude where your comedy comes from. And I think people get that when they work with me, because I always have pretty much have a smile on my face, or a very straight face or I'll make a gesture so that they know that it's not meant to be mean, but it's like, here, here's a tool to un-F yourself.
And sometimes just for purely selfish reasons, like I don't want to go walk around with my friend when he's got his barn door open, and it's self-preservation. But
Yeah.
when life deals you that 10-2 off suit, sometimes your best play is to just bluff your way out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Kenny Loggins reference life lesson in there somewhere, but no,
Kenny Loggins or Kevin Bacon? I was feeling it.
Was it Kenny Loggins that? No, Kenny Rogers. No one to hold him, no one to fold him.
That's Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, see, I failed. I tried to bluff my way out of it.
Is all right.
Yeah. Well, Kenny Loggins was the highway to the danger zone, right?
Yeah.
I was born in 1981, so I'm.
Kenny Loggins only went part way though to the danger zone, but it's all right.
He used a condom.
There we go. Okay.
No, Traci, it's such a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much.
You're a joy to be around, and I'm genuinely excited for hearing about how this the training stuff goes with your friends and for the women's groups and stuff out there. And please, we should probably have you back on so that in the next 3-4 months or something like that, so you can give us an update on how those things are going and things like that. So
awesome. Would love to. No, this was a blast. And who doesn't love to hear stories about your favorite nudist swinger hypnotist comic that lives in a nudist community?
The one of the
makes me want to visit Florida.
Come on down. You can always tell who the Canadians are because it's like 30 degrees and they're naked, and like I'm in a park, I'm walking.
Yeah, 30 degrees is only a little bit chilly. It's not cold yet. So
yeah, it's tanning weather for you people up there, and it's nuts. I don't.
Well, it depends on what letter follows after the numbers.
Yeah.
30 degrees with a C is like, oh, it's cooking outside.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that Traci's talking 30 degrees freedom units.
Oh, yeah. For you guys, when it's like, oh, it's 60 below zero. But yeah, it's a 90 degree shift.
That was 2 months ago, 60 below zero. We're above zero now. We're good.
I remember you were telling me, you're like minus 40 is where it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. It's.
Well, come visit me at Paradise Lakes.
Paradise Lakes in Florida.
In Florida, yep. Lutz, Lutz, Florida.
I'll have to do a guest spot on your show or one of your events and justify flying down there. Be like,
sure.
Look, this trip paid for itself.
Yeah, we'll give you the.
I promise I won't be naked because your condo association would be like, Brian, the filters for the pool is just like.
You know what? It's a beautiful day in the neuterhood.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, we should probably end it off here. Join us
before we all go to jail.
Well, yeah, join us next week. I believe we have David and Gina from Workwell Hypnosis will be our guests.
Oh, we got next week or next show?
Next week.
Next week, okay.
Is the next show. And then we follow that up with Victoria Gallagher. So.
Oh, yeah, because we had a bye week last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So all good. We will see everybody next week. Traci, thank you so much again for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be able to see you live and in person at PHS in January. And yeah, before that, like Brian said, let us know how things are going, and we can always have you back on the broadcast.
If you get something out in Vegas or something like that, let us know. I might be able to jet down there.
Okay.
So
perfect.
With that, Becca, here's a couple of snaps. Just ready, feeling good, feeling wonderful. Absolutely, just rest and relaxation. Go to sleep and good night.
All right, and as always, we ended off with Jim's infamous saying, "Take care, stay well, and be awesome. Good night, everybody.
Stay free.